Well, welcome to the Mortgage Loan Officer Podcast. I am your host, Frank Garay. We are brought to you by the Mortgage Marketing Animals, and today's topic is going to be kind of interesting. I think very interesting because when we're making commitments to get started moving forward in a new way, right, where we need to maybe do some things that we haven't been doing in the past to make sure we get some business, there's things to consider when we approach that. And so that's why I've got with me here today Meg Baldwin. She's a launch coach over at the Mortgage Marketing Animals. Hi, Meg.
Hi, how are you?
You know what, man? I am so good. I can't even stand being around myself. That's how good I am. You know what? I am just
Well,
like,
it's coming over here, so I'm
are you
good
feeling
too.
it? Yeah.
Yes.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. So, Meg, you're a launch coach.
Yes.
In like 25 seconds, what is a launch coach at Mortgage Marketing Animals?
So when you join Freedom Club, you have to get started, right? You got to get started with the DSP, and it can be a lot to completely change what you've been doing and implement a new system. So I help you break it down and get it started week by week and
So you
make it
take
work
them by
for
the
you.
hand. You take a new coaching student who's joining Freedom Club, take them by the hand and go, okay,
The computer, yes, I will
yes,
hold your hand.
this is the daily success plan. This is what we do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And you go over that with them and kind of break them into the process.
Yeah.
Is that basically it?
Yeah. Yeah, and how do we start it for them? It's different. It's different but the same for everybody.
Yeah.
And so you got to make it so that it becomes part of their routine, their
Hmm.
schedule, and it makes sense to them and they actually want to do it.
Yeah. Got it. Um, where do you find that people how do I say this? Maybe I want to change that question. Let's say there's 4 days to the daily success plan. We've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Mondays are very realtor focused, getting realtors, talking to realtors, engaging with realtors, trying to get business out of realtors, right? Tuesday is our active files where we're updating people on what's going on in the file, asking for business. Wednesday's past client database. We're reaching out to them at least quarterly, giving them phone calls, asking for the business. Thursdays are pre-approved and lookings where we're talking to the customers, keeping them motivated, asking them for the business, and then updating the realtor partners and, asking them for the business as well. Out of those 4, now there's a lot of asking for the business that I just said there,
Well,
right?
because there's no point to making any call unless you're asking for the business. So you just wasted a call if you're not even going to ask.
I love it. Right. And so someone new coming to the program, and this would be for people listening to the podcast right now, maybe you're thinking of changing your ways, right? You're thinking, okay,
Well, it's the new year right now. So new year, new you, I guess.
yeah, exactly. And a lot of people do that, right? And so
Yeah.
they think, okay, well, I'm going to start some new routines. But understanding what routines are and what routines work the best, that's a big part of figuring out what you're going to do. But at the end
Yeah.
of the day, a lot of it has to do with, talking to people and asking for the business. And look, man, if we're going to get down to brass tacks, there's no magic pill out there. You got to get on the phone and talk to people and ask for the business. So I'm curious, Meg, in all of the launching that you do as the launch
Yes.
coach, right? With all of the new Freedom Club members that sign up, out of those 4 days, you got Monday where you're engaging with realtors, Tuesdays, the active files, Wednesdays, past clients, Thursdays, pre-proven lookings. What do you find people gravitate the most to first? Like, what are the, because I know Carl's a big fan of like, look, man, it's like drinking from the fire hose, right? There's a lot to understand about each of those days. There's a lot of scripting, there's a lot of things to
Mhm.
take in. Carl often says, look, you might not be able to do all 4 days out of the gates at once and do it well, right? So he
Right.
often says, okay, let's maybe for the first couple of weeks, we focus on one of those days and make sure we do it well. What days do people kind of gravitate to?
The warm ones. So I usually lean towards warm calls when they first get started. So if they have deals in the pipe, let's start with Tuesday.
They're warm.
Let's update everyone in the file and ask for the business. Let's get a win there. Let's see if we can move the needle a little bit because at that point, you're going to need to start gathering your past database together, start gathering your lists together. But I don't want you to not do anything while you're getting that stuff together, because a lot of times they'll be like, okay, well, I have all these things I need to do. I'll start in 4
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
No, no, no,
Because
no,
now I've
no.
got time to get all these things together. I don't have to worry about phone
Mhm.
calls. And the excuse really is an excuse to not pick up the
Not,
phone.
yeah.
So I like your approach though, is let's start with the easy stuff. I mean, so Tuesdays we're calling our active files in our database. We're already
Tuesday,
talking to these people, right? Where we should
I
be,
mean,
right?
you should be. A lot of
Right.
people aren't, right? So
Mm,
a lot of times those are emails going out or texts going out, or it's just going to the buying agent and the borrowers, or only one of the borrowers and the buying agent. We're
mm,
missing the listing agent, the title company, insurance, the co-borrower. All those people know different people,
mm.
and we're missing it. I just had a guy last week, one of my clients, who reached out to the title company, and they're building a huge relationship now where that title company guy that works there is going to be a business development rep at their business.
Yeah.
Like, what?
That would be smart too, because as a title person being a BDR, he knows every real estate agent in town and all the good ones. He knows
Yeah.
all the good agents in town.
But that
Yeah.
wouldn't have happened, that conversation. They were friends, you know? They
Yeah.
were friends before, their kids played together, but they didn't have that conversation about work. They weren't
Hmm.
asking for the business.
Hmm. Yeah. So starting with the low hanging fruit, I call it low hanging fruit. You called it warm. I like what you said better. Because these are people, especially on the Tuesday calls. These are people that if you call them, they're picking up the phone. I
Yeah.
mean, you're their loan officer, whether the listing agent, the selling agent, the buyer, the co-borrower, right? The escrow
Mhm.
people, you're on an active transaction with them. So chances are they're going to pick up the phone or they're going to call you back, right?
Or they're going to listen to your message and just be thankful that you gave them an update of what was going on.
Mm,
It's a huge opportunity. I mean, obviously, as long as that listing agent is qualified, you can pick up agents there.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I like what you said. As long as that listing agent is qualified, and just to clarify for everybody who's listening, when we talk about a qualified agent here, we're talking about at its bare minimum, bare minimum, 8 buy sides closed in the
Yeah.
past 12 months. That's
Yes.
the bare minimum. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, if someone has 8 buy sides in the past 12 months, you might be good for 2 deals out of that person in the year. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's a bare minimum. We like to see more than that, obviously, if we can. So
But
yeah,
even, right, even if they're not qualified, it doesn't mean that they would never send you business. You're just
right,
not going to reach out to them and devote a ton of time. But you devoted that time during the process. And so now you have a relationship with them, whether or not you keep it going consistently after that. Obviously, you can set up campaigns and
sure.
market to them easily through email, text. That's not a phone call that takes a ton of time.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. The listing agent's a big deal. It really is.
Mhm.
And like you said, even if they're not necessarily qualified, hey, they listed their mother's house, right? But they're still in the business. They're still in the
Yeah.
business. And if they have a great experience with you and they get updated along the way, you're the one that they're going to call, especially if you can put them on some sort of a drip campaign or something like that. But
Mhm.
okay, so low hanging fruit, what people you typically point people into that direction. I would ask you this too, like, let's say for the listeners, they go, okay, this is a good idea. Maybe I will start updating my active pipeline, once a week, right? On what's going on. Talk to me a little bit about it. How do these updates go? Like,
So it
what do
doesn't
they,
have to be a complete update. So a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I have to look up everything that's happening in the file, like where we at, what's happening. No, we are on schedule for a smooth and flawless closing.
that's it.
That's it. And
I just
then
want you to know
the
everything's
ask.
good over here. Hi,
Yeah. Then,
it's Frank. Meg, I just want you to know on your file, everything's good over here. We're on track. I was
yeah.
thinking about you. Just want to let you know that, okay? It's that simple.
Oh my gosh, thanks for giving me a call, Frank.
No problem. Where do we go from there? If they say, thanks for giving me the call, where do we go from there?
Then you say, oh my gosh, you are so welcome. You know what, Frank? I love getting to work with people like you.
Hmm.
Do you happen to have any other friends, family, coworkers who are looking to buy, sell, or refinance?
Can't think of anybody right now, Meg.
Totally cool. But can I count on you to send them my way if you do think of somebody?
Sure. Sounds fine. I tell you, we just did that little quasi little role play thing, but I'm telling you, that's how those calls go.
It is
That's
because
how they go.
they just want you to hold their hand,
Right.
right? This is the biggest, well, for the borrowers, this is
Yeah.
the biggest purchase that they're making in their life. They want you to hold their hand. They want you to tell them it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do we go borrower and co-borrower? Some people might think, I don't want to do that. Why would you?
Okay, so you're married, right?
Yeah.
Are you married?
Yeah.
So your wife has a different group of people that she hangs out to
She
with or
does.
talks
She
to
does. They're all
than you
crazy.
do.
Yeah. I would never hang out with any of those people. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, yes. No, you're right. Yeah. She's got her circle.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so the people that would come to her mind when asking, do you have any friends, family, or coworkers who are looking to buy, sell, or refinance? She knows a ton of other people. So just like my husband works at a hospital, I don't know any of the people that work at the hospital.
Right.
He doesn't, I
Yeah.
mean, he knows the people that I work with, but he wouldn't know if they were buying or selling a house.
Yeah.
But
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's a good thought to make sure we're touching both the borrower and the co-borrower. You just don't know. The other thing too that I've learned on Breakfast Club, because we've had people chime in on this quite a bit, where
Mhm.
um they, sometimes if you have the borrower co-borrower situations, sometimes one of them is just, kind of a fuddy-duddy, doesn't care, isn't going to refer you to anybody. Like, yeah, thanks, whatever, bye. They don't even care for the update. Okay, great. But the other borrower is like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. So if you're picking just one, you might be picking the fuddy-duddy who just isn't prone to refer. Because people are like
Right.
that. There's some people that just are
Mhm.
not prone to do that. So if you're talking to the borrower and the co-borrower, it makes a lot of sense because one might be more prone to refer. The other thing too is, and I know Carl's brought this up, is that it's also just kind of being respectful.
They're
Why
both
would you
buying a
assume?
house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would you assume you're just updating one and the other one doesn't need to know what's going on? Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I actually ran into that on a file where I was doing the loan for him, and the file started with me with the wife, right? And so the wife was the one that I had the initial engagement with, and she was kind of taking the lead in
Mhm.
it, and so that was my main point of contact, and I never really engaged with the husband per se, but at some point it came up from the husband saying, I'm doing this too. It'd be nice to know what's going on my end. It's okay to let me know what's happening. It was so embarrassing. Yeah, I was like, I'm so sorry, man. I just your wife and I just kind of were the ones that initiated this thing, and I just been working through her. I apologize, and I started updating him after that. But yeah, so it is a respect thing, but being able to make sure we take advantage of each call we make and ask for the business is so important. Let me ask you this, Meg. What do you say to somebody who says, well, I just asked them that last week. Now I'm going to ask them that again this week and the following. This thing's going to take 6 weeks to
Yeah.
close. I mean, am
Set
I
it up
asking
on
this
the
every 6 weeks? How do I go about doing that, not sounding weird? Do you have any response for them?
so set it up with them. Give like set up the expectation and let them know, hey, I am going to give you a call every single Tuesday and give you an update. I'm also probably going to ask you for the business because I'm a referral based business, and that's where it comes from. I enjoy working with people that I like,
Bingo.
and that's it. You can also, you can tell them you don't have to answer the phone every time that I call. I'll leave you a voicemail. That's totally cool too. But I am gonna call you every single Tuesday.
Thank you for that. That is one of the things that I've always harped on is look, man, if you're going into these transactions, I've always been a big fan of having that expectation set from the very first phone call.
Yes.
So, realtor call Bob. I call Bob. We have that initial conversation of, do you got a job? Do you have any money? What's your
Yeah.
FICO score? That initial phone call that we all have, or
Yes.
if you've got a loan partner that does that for you, this falls on their shoulders. But on that initial phone call, when you say goodbye, say, hey man, thanks. I'm going to get back here. We're going to schedule that loan application. I'm going to send you the link or whatever it is after that first phone call. It's always great to say, hey, and just by the way, man, we're going to be in touch with you throughout the process. And one of the ways that we say goodbye, our whole team, the ways we say goodbye is we just say, hey, if you happen to have any friends, family, coworkers looking to buy, sell, or refinance, we're hoping we can count on you, send them our way. We're more than likely going to say that whenever we say goodbye to you. And we're not just being pushy salespeople or anything like that. It's just, this is how we get our business. And so I just appreciate it if you could bear with us on that a little bit, but just understand that's just how we say goodbye. So with that in mind, do you happen to have any friends, family, or coworkers that might be looking to buy, sell, or refinance?
Yes.
And I've done that many times, right? And it always gets a laugh. But I swear to you, I do that. And I've never gotten anyone to say, absolutely not, don't do that. Everybody always goes, oh, sure, man. Yeah, no problem. It's all good, And then I've actually had people go, I can't think of anybody right now, but I go, yeah, no problem, man. I'm just, as we go through the process, we will be chatting to you, updating you. We say goodbye that way. So if you do happen to come across somebody, we appreciate getting connected to them. Okay. And they go, okay. So setting that expectation takes all the pressure off, doesn't it, Meg? Of like being able to ask every Tuesday. You don't feel like you're, messing with them or, I don't
The
know.
other thing you're doing in that moment, along with letting them know what to expect, you're also setting an expectation for yourself. So you don't get to decide now, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I don't want to call them next week, because then you didn't live up to your word. You didn't do what you said you would do. And
Yeah.
now that looks bad.
Yeah. Let's explore. I don't want to make this go too long. We talked about bar. We talked about co-bar on Tuesday. We talked about Tuesdays being probably the easiest to get started on. If you're making a big change, you're going to start asking for the business. You're going to start making phone calls. This is one of the easiest days to engage with because you've probably got files in the pipeline. You might as well start here. We talked about bar or co-bar agents. Those phone calls, kind of how do those go, Meg? Like how do those go?
So agents, you got to make sure they're qualified. So you have to get a qualified list or qualify a list if you're able to do that on your own. So make sure that the people that you are calling every Monday are actually doing business.
Oh, I mean the
Now,
agents on Tuesdays. Like how do our calls go to the agents on Tuesday, listing agent, selling agent on the Tuesday update call? What's that look like to the agents?
you touch the lead, touch the partner. So you let the agent know, hey, I just spoke with Frank, and I just wanted to let you know as well, we are on schedule for a smooth and flawless closing.
Mm.
And at that point, you can ask, hey, are you throwing anyone in your car that we need to get pre-approved to make it a good use of your time?
Yeah. Yeah. And we do the same thing with the listing agent, right? I mean, it's the same call, basically.
It's
right?
just letting them know we're on schedule for a smooth and flawless closing. Everything's good.
Yeah.
If it's not good, don't lie to them. So you got to let them know that if something is going on, don't pretend like it's fine until the very end, and then you're like, that's not a good experience.
I like Steve Kyles has a script for that too. If things aren't going well, like when something pops up, it's like, crud, and now here's Tuesday and I got to make this call on this peculiar situation, or even if it's not Tuesday, we got to make that call. And I would encourage you guys just to make sure you visit our podcast network. It's loanofficerpodcastnetwork.com, where there's gazillions of these podcasts. And Steve Kyles has got a lot of scripts there. And one of them, though, is when you run into those scenarios, how you deal with that situation. And he likes to work with percentages. Here's a situation. Here's how we're going to rectify it. I recognize this, and this is what we're going to do. And this is how we're going to rectify it. And I think the chances of the thing getting turned around is like 95% or 85. The agents like to hear percentages, and we won't get into that. But I would just wanted to direct people, because they might be thinking this right now,
and
that there is a solution to that.
Take responsibility. Don't blame it on your team.
Right.
Just address it head on with that agent. They're going to have so much more respect for you for bringing it to the forefront and having that conversation right there. Because you're not going to have a perfect file, a perfect transaction every single time.
Right. Things happen. This is the mortgage business. Yeah. I was thinking about it this morning. It's like, all loans, are a big fat hairy mess. They just are. There's the perfect loan. There's something in there. There's something in there that just has to be dealt with or contended with or recognized or, dealt with. It just is. It's very rare that there's just
Yes.
nothing, so all loans are a big fat hairy mess. They just are. And you just gotta, that's why we get paid. Right. So, and lastly, so we talked about agents, we talked about the co-borrowers on Tuesday, agents on Tuesday, and then we even go so far as to say closing agents and insurance people. Give us just a brief synopsis on what in the world would be the point of that. What are we trying to get out of those calls?
Who else do they know?
Hmm.
We're just simply giving them that same update, letting them know, hey, we are looking good. Everything is on schedule. Um, do you happen to know of anybody that we can help?
Hmm.
Have you come across, title companies? You can ask if they've come across any agents who need a superstar loan officer.
Right. Exactly.
um, and that's a huge opportunity right there to build your relationship with them.
Yeah.
Um, you know, get friendly, have a good conversation, chat with them, and show them. That's the big thing about this entire process, the entire consistency of the calls is that you're showing how you run your business. You are showing them that you show up every single week and you follow through.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, and we've heard many times on Breakfast Club that if their originator is really good about connecting with the closing agents, the title people, escrow, whatever they might be, attorneys, wherever you are, if they're consistent about updating them, seeing how they're doing, and saying, hey, if you know any other agents that might be looking for a good loan officer, they kill with this. They
Yeah.
killed it because the agents, if they're not happy with a loan person and they're talking to the closing agents, they're verbalizing it. They're going,
Yeah.
this guy is horrible. I'll never use this guy. So, and if you're in their mind, then that's where they're going to say, I have to know this other guy or this other gal.
They close on time,
She's
they
terrific. Like, she
communicate.
always updates us on what's going on. Super good. That agent be like, I want to know, so that
Yeah.
works. Lastly, we've got insurance agents. What would be the point of calling them? Some people are like, why in the world? Nobody calls the insurance agent. Why would I call it? What would I say to them?
Honestly, it's the same exact thing. You're just letting them know that we are on schedule, letting them know if there's anything that's popping up, if there's anything that you need. And do you happen to know anybody else
Yeah.
that is looking to buy, sell, or refinance? Is
Yeah.
there anybody in the area that I could help?
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Here's the thing that somebody brought this up to me. I forget who it was. It might have been Paul Dolan or somebody, but said it might have been Scotty Hudspeth way back in the day. But
Hmm.
insurance agents, your local insurance agent, it's pretty rare if they've got any type of, if they've been established for any length of time, it's pretty rare to find a homeowner's insurance agent in your area that has a database that's less than 1,000 homeowners, right? Like they're connected to a giant database of homeowners that they've helped. So if we're updating them and just getting to know them and asking if they know anybody that needs their help, or whatever, nobody, like, I know Carl doesn't like to use words like nobody or everybody, right? Because they're such big, stupid words that really aren't real. But I'm going to say it. And Carl can yell at me. Like, no loan officers are doing this. Like, nobody's updating the insurance agent, getting to know them, asking them if they know anybody else that needs their help. They're just not. And if you become that person, this guy's going to come across people. He's going to say, hey, if you know anybody needs insurance, you're going to say, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
and and that goes with a lot of different relationships that you have outside of those 6 calls, right? Wherever you go, anywhere, always thinking, who does this person know? It could be
Right.
a painter, it could
Yeah.
be a contractor, it could be
Yeah.
a landscape person. Just
Yeah.
having that in your head of who do they know?
Right. Yeah. Just asking it. Just getting in the habit of asking it. Yeah. Would you say
Yes.
that that's probably one of the biggest barriers to breakthrough is getting the new coaching students that you're launching into the program is just getting them into the habit of asking. Is that a tough one?
That yes, the habit of making the calls during a specific time. So I think that's another piece that's really huge with all of this process is time block it. Put it on your calendar, make it non-negotiable. That's the time that you're making the call. And if you're only starting with the update calls, pick one day. We do Tuesdays. Pick one day, a block of time, probably 2 hours, and put it on the calendar and do it during that time. Nothing gets in the way because those are your money making calls. Those are proactive calls. Turn off Facebook notifications, email notifications, phone calls coming in. Like, turn it all off and just get it done.
Exactly. Good stuff. Meg Baldwin, launch coach at the Freedom Club. Thanks, Meg. I was glad to talk to you about this. I just wanted to kind of
Yes.
see what are you seeing like with people that have decided they're going to make a change, decided they're going to do something different, and then like where's the starting place for most people? Like where they and this has been really good to understand that the warm
It's,
calls are pretty much it.
it's not always a bunch of cold calls that you have to make.
Yeah.
It's updating your clients, it's calling your past database, it's calling pre-approved and looking. You already know all of those people.
Yeah. Yeah. You're already deeply involved with all those people.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
reaching out and connecting with them and asking for the business.
That's it. Good stuff. All right, guys. Well, we'll get out of here. Meg Baldwin, thanks so much, Meg.
You're
We'll
so
come back and
welcome.
visit again and talk about some more stuff. But I think this has been really helpful to anybody who's listening in the mortgage space. I mean, I would hope this would be helpful for you.
I
Just
hope
doing
so.
this alone would probably change your 2024 without question. You know,
Honestly,
yeah,
yeah, I've one of my girls I can think of, and before we go,
yeah,
she did this. This was the only thing she was doing, and she increased her business by a quarter
yeah. No
by
kidding.
just doing the Tuesday update calls.
Yeah,
And she would go into closings, and I know Carl says don't go into closings all the time, but she was going to closings, and
yeah.
people were cheering for her when she came in because they knew her.
Yay! You've got to be
Yes,
kidding me.
not kidding.
I believe it.
There.
I believe it. They're cheering. It's like
Yes.
nobody does this. How refreshing. A
Like, oh my
professional
gosh,
that
there
kept
she
us up to
is.
date. Thanks so much. That is
Yes.
neat. All right.
Yes.
Well, let's get out of here. We'll come back again for I would just say this, man. If you're listening to us and you think, man, maybe it is time for a change and I do want to get some professional help, which all professionals need professional help, right? We always there's that always
Absolutely.
that cliche, saying, hey, even Michael Jordan had a coach, right? Everybody has a coach. All professionals have a coach. If you want to get into coaching, man, just reach out to us. Go to dailysuccessplan.com. You can schedule a time with the main office and they can point you in the right direction there. They can answer a lot of your questions, but we'd really encourage you to do that. Just go to dailysuccessplan.com. And of course, you can join me every Monday through Thursday, 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern time for free on the Loan Officer Breakfast Club. That's loanofficerbreakfastclub.com. Loanofficerbreakfastclub.com, where we go through these types of things every single day. It's a 30-minute Zoom call. It's super fun, very inspirational and educational. And again, it'll just get your appetite, it'll whet your appetite to go further is what it'll
Yes.
do. And hopefully you will, because it'll be a huge, huge benefit to you if you do. All right,
Yes.
Meg, thanks so much. We'll catch up with you again. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. And for the rest of you, we'll see y'all next time here on the Mortgage Loan Officer Podcast. Adios, everybody.